Thank you for clicking on this video. Welcome back, friends. The warm glow of strung lights and the thrum of loud music filled Ray's backyard. It was in the middle of that cheerful chaos that Tessa decided, with a series of deliberate actions, that she no longer had a husband. I watched from my post by the grill, a cold beer in my hand as she moved through the crowd. It wasn't a casual mingling, it was an audition for freedom. A laugh pitched too high, a hair flipped too dramatic, her hand resting on a stranger's shoulder for a beat too long. Then, the final provocation. She hooked a finger in some guy's silver chain, pulling him close to whisper in his ear. Her eyes met mine across the patio, and she offered a smirk, a tiny, triumphant flag planted in contested ground. Ray, tongs in hand, glanced from her to me. "You want me to shut that down," he muttered. "I'm not her chaperone," I replied, my voice flat. "Eyes on my own wife." The guy's friends were watching now, a small audience waiting for the show. Fine, let them watch. I set my bottle down on the deck rail with a quiet click. The walk across the patio felt long, each step measured. I stopped 2 feet from her, my presence a silent anchor dropped into her performance. "We're done here," I said, my voice low but clear. She pivoted, a bright, artificial smile plastered on her face. "Relax, Grant, it's Ray's birthday." "Exactly, and I won't let you use his party as your stage." I raised my voice just enough to cut through the music, ensuring our audience didn't miss a word. This was the last line. "I'm leaving." "That's dramatic," she tossed back, but the smirk was gone. "Then remember the scene." I looked over at Ray. "Thanks for the invite, I'll call you tomorrow." I turned and walked out the side gate, the crunch of gravel under my boots the only sound I made. No yelling, no debate, just the drawing of a line. If I'd known then how deeply that line would be etched, I'd have drawn it 10 minutes earlier and saved myself the futile hope. She arrived home 15 minutes after I did. The front door clicked open, her heels a sharp staccato on the hardwood. I was at the kitchen sink, rinsing the smell of smoke from my hands. "Okay," she breathed, setting her clutch down with a soft thud. "I pushed, I know." "You performed," I corrected, not turning around. "Different sport." "I got carried away. I wanted to feel noticed. It was stupid." Her voice softened into a well-practiced apology. "I'm sorry, Grant. I won't do that again." "Tell me you mean that tomorrow morning," I replied, finally facing her. "Tonight, you want to put out a fire. Tomorrow, we'll talk about who's been selling matches." She nodded quickly, eager to accept any condition to restore the peace. That night, I slept on my side of the bed, listening to the whir of the ceiling fan. Apologies at midnight are cheap. We would see the interest rate at breakfast. Over eggs the next morning, she hovered at the kitchen island, wrapped in one of my old shirts, quiet as if silence were a down payment. "I heard you last night," I began. "So here's how it's going to work for a while." Her eyebrows lifted. "Rules." "Structure," I countered. "We take a pause on couples' nights. You handle your social calendar. I'll handle mine. No more shows where I'm the prop. If you go out, a courtesy text by 10 p.m. not for permission, for information. And we separate discretionary spending. The joint account covers the house and basics. Your extras aren't my tab anymore. Mine aren't yours." "That's a lot," she said, reaching for a coffee mug. "It's basic. Respect is easy until you have to show it." "I apologized," she reminded me, a sliver of steel returning to her voice. "Accepted," I said. "And this is me making sure we don't have to restage the same scene." She took a sip, studying me over the rim of the mug. "You're punishing me." "Wrong word. I'm protecting the marriage from your boredom." Her mouth opened, then shut. "So, the camping trip with Jenna and Ray next weekend." "Not going," I answered. "I'll tell Ray today." She let out a small, disbelieving laugh. "You're serious?" I put my fork down. "Tessa, I'm not competing with strangers at parties for my wife's attention. And I'm not auditioning for the role at home, either. These are my terms for calm." She stared at the countertop, then at me, her eyes calculating the distance of the new boundary. "Fine." "Good, last thing," I added, wiping my hands on a towel. "No jokes about me in front of your friends for a while. If you want to talk about me, talk to me." So I can't joke, she asked, tilting her head. Are we in a courtroom now? You can joke. You can also read a room. Choose wisely. She rolled her eyes and walked away. I sent a quick text to the group chat, pulling us out of the camping trip. Work and timing. Rain check. Jenna replied with a thumbs up. Ray added a shrug. Then Tessa chimed in, Grant's in his responsible era. I put my phone down. Public was public. The following weeks were a tense dance. She brought lunch to my shop, turkey and avocado, my usual a peace offering. She tried charm, help with yard work, a quiet dinner at home. I accepted the gestures but kept my storm windows up, enjoying the sun but ready for the weather to turn. It did, of course. Months later, on a Tuesday, I was late from a job. I texted her I'd be home after 10. No response. When I pulled into the driveway at 10:45, the house was dark and empty. My text, "Where are you?" was met with a volley that severed the final thread. "I'm not your property. I'll be late. Don't call." In that moment, something didn't break, it clicked. A switch, clean and final. I typed back, "I'm not your husband from this moment. Don't come back." Then, with a calm that felt surgical, I packed her suitcases. Not in anger, but with neat, methodical stacks. I called a locksmith neighbor and had the cylinders changed on the front and back doors. When her headlights swept the wall just after midnight, I was ready. The handle rattled, then the door shook under her pounding. "Grant." I opened the door with the chain on. She stood there, indignation in her posture, her key useless in her hand. "What did you do?" I closed the door, slipped the chain, and opened it fully. Her 2 suitcases stood between us. "Your suitcases?" She looked from the bags to my face, her expression cycling through confusion, anger, and fear. "What is this?" "I'm finishing the conversation you started," I said, my voice steady. I held out my wedding ring. "And this." "This is insane. We had a fight." "No," I corrected. "We had a test. You sent the answer. I read it." She tried to step over the threshold. I slid the suitcases forward with my foot. "Don't!" It wasn't a threat. It was a boundary, solid and immovable. "You're making a huge mistake." "Maybe, but I don't make the same one twice." Her eyes filled with tears, a last-ditch effort. "Grant, listen to me. I've been listening for months. Now I'm done. Pick up your bags." She asked where she was supposed to go, her voice small. "Your family," I said. "Or a friend. You've rehearsed this night for a while. You just didn't expect me to say my line." She tried one last angle. "You'll regret this in the morning." "In the morning," I said. "I'll be filing the paperwork." She held my gaze, searching for a weakness, a crack. Finding none, she took the handles of the suitcases, turned, and walked down the steps. The wheels thumped twice on the concrete. I closed the door, turned the deadbolt, and laid my new keys on the table. The aftermath was a lesson in clarity. I filed for divorce. I blocked her number. I replied only to logistics about her belongings. Her friends tried to intervene. I politely declined to engage. The papers eventually came, stamped and final. The house stayed with me. The math was clean. I rebuilt a quiet life. Work, dinners with Ray, a second-hand smoker. I learned to make coffee just the way I liked it and leave the cup in the sink until I had time to wash it. I started dating, slowly meeting women who looked back with respect, not calculation. Peace, I discovered, isn't a dramatic victory. It's just the profound absence of a certain kind of stupidity. People think a man leaves when he's angry. I didn't. I left when I was completely, utterly calm. She had told me clearly I didn't own anything. I simply agreed and returned what was never truly mine to carry. The exhausting, lonely job of upholding both sides of a marriage alone. Now my keys are on the hook by the door. My house is quiet. My life fits me like my own well-worn jacket. As for Tessa, I hear things. She's across the river, chasing a different kind of light with a net that still seems to have a hole in it. But that's not my assessment. It's just the view from a room I've long since left. Sometimes a line isn't for the other person. It's for you. Mine was simple. I won't be insulted in public, negotiated with in private, and expected to smile for the pictures. I won't do auditions in my own home. When she told me she wasn't my property, I heard the freest sentence in the world. Right, I told her at the door, you're not, and I'm not yours either. Door closed, locks changed, paper signed, life my own resumed.
Thanks for watching PastQuest. If you enjoyed the journey into history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing stories from the past. See you in the next quest.